Welcome to our first edition of The World Today this week. I am Amarachi Ubani. Now, over the weekend, the United States made a deal with the Taliban, but criticisms have begun to trail the swap deal for 5 Guantanamo Bay detainees for a Taliban-held U.S. soldier, as the main U.S. political parties are tackling President Barack Obama's decision. Republicans warned that it could put American lives at risk. Senator John McCain is quoted as saying that the detainees who were transferred to Qatar were some of the highest high-risk people. The Afghan government itself is not happy because it was not aware that the deal even took place. It says that the handling of prisoners to a third country is against international law.
Sergeant Bowie Bagdal's freedom has come as a big relief for his family and the U.S. government. For 5 years, he had been held captive by the Taliban in Afghanistan, appearing in a few videos in which he pleaded for his release. After a deal spanning 3 years, Sergeant Bagdal was freed on Saturday, May the 31st. A U.S. defense official said he was able to walk and became emotional on his way to freedom after being handed over to U.S. Special Forces in eastern Afghanistan on Saturday. But his release came at a cost. 5 of the Taliban's most top members would be released to the Qatari government from the U.S. correctional facility in Cuba. Qatar's Foreign Minister, Khaled Al-Attiyah, praised the efforts of Qatari negotiators who worked to secure the release alongside the U.S. government. His Highness the Emir directed the concerned authorities in the state to start this mediation, which succeeded after long negotiations. I have to thank Qatar's negotiating team who made effort to achieve this result according to the best traditions followed by Qatar's policy in humanitarian efforts. In this specific case, it was for a humanitarian cause. U.S. military aircraft flee the 5 Taliban detainees to Qatar. The men had been held at the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba since 2002 and were classed by the Pentagon as high risk and likely to pose a threat. According to the U.S. military, 2 were also implicated in the murder of thousands of minority Shiite Muslims in Afghanistan. The Taliban denied the prisoners would return to battle, but said the swap should not be regarded as a gesture of goodwill or a step towards the revival of peace talks between Islamist insurgents and the Afghan government. While the Afghan Taliban leader Mullah Mohammed Omar issued a rare public statement on Sunday, hailing the exchange of the detainees, describing it as a big victory, members of the Afghan parliament and residents of Kabul are concerned that it could enhance terrorism in Afghanistan and cause violence, something that will no doubt affect the Afghan government, its people, and the American government in a negative way. But the U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel is hopeful the prisoner swap would lead to more negotiations with the Taliban.
The primary focus, I think, as you all know, was getting Sergeant Bergdahl back. And we've done that, as I said, as President Obama said, as a result of the help of a lot of people. And so that's our first focus. Whether that could lead to possible new breakthroughs with the Taliban, I don't know. Hopefully it might. But we pursued this effort specifically to get Sergeant Bergdahl back. As to another part of your question, could this embolden terrorists? Again, I remind you, this was a prisoner of war.
Bagdal's release came after President Barack Obama outlined a plan last Tuesday to withdraw all but 9,800 American soldiers from Afghanistan by the end of the year, and the rest by 2016, ending more than a decade of U.S. military engagement. The Afghan Ministry of Foreign Affairs insists that handing over prisoners to a third country is a breach of international law. It says, "We are strongly opposed to it. We want Qatar and the US government to let the men go free." But back home in the United States, it is a debate heating up on the prisoner swap. Senator John McCain said the detainees were some high-risk people. But Republican Representative Adam Kinzinger said he would celebrate Sergeant Begdal's return, but called the release of the Afghans shocking.
Let's discuss this further now. Professor Isaac Mbachu joins us now live via telephone from the Nigeria Defense Academy. He's a professor of political and strategic studies at the NDA. Professor, thank you so much for joining us on The World Today. Let's take a look at the prisoner deal now. What do you make of it? Releasing 5 for the price of 1?
About the release of the sergeant.
Yes, Sergeant Begdal. Yes.
Yes. To be sincere, this is a very good news coming out of Pakistan recently. Very soon, U.S. and Western allies will be withdrawing their troops, in fact, completely from Afghanistan. And it will not be proper to leave a U.S. soldier in the hands of the Taliban there. This Sergeant Bowe Begdal, who is 28 years old, from Idaho, U.S., got missing on June 30th, 2009